So we will be presenting now about SSNM and SSNM-based decision tools developed by ERI together with our partner. Yeah, by the way, I am Rowena Castillo. You can call me. I'm a soil scientist at ERI, project manager, and working with Benny and Dr. Sai.
Hi everyone, I'm Benny Di Cardinero. I'm a manager for digital agriculture here at ERI under the Sustainable Impact Department. We have to call on Dr. Saito as well. Dr. Saito.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kazuki Saito. I'm an agronomist working for ERI in headquarters. Yes, back to the Wen, please.
So, rice is the most important staple crop in Asia and now becoming in Africa. And as you can see in the picture, in most cases, rice is produced in small land holdings. And there's a lot of challenges in rice production. And we see from the past experiences that blanket recommendations don't work. Why? Because there's a very large variability among farms. Farmers practice differently. They use different varieties, for example, use different kinds of fertilizers and different access to technologies. And also, most farmers do suboptimal practices. That's why their yield is also suboptimal. And we also see that routine soil analysis cannot predict soil nutrient supply that is relevant for crop response to added fertilizer. And therefore, this SSNM or site-specific nutrient management is to address or a solution of these challenges. So SSNM was developed in the 1990s for cereals in Asia for field-specific nutrient management practices to address the variability in fields. And over 25 years, it has evolved in its science and also decision support tools in a way that SSNM-based recommendations can be provided to the farmer. Yeah, so right now, SSNM is covering several crops, rice, maize, and wheat in countries in Asia and Africa. But we will be focusing on rice for this presentation. So a brief history about SSNM on rice. Actually, it was based on the KWEPS model that is initially developed for maize. So KWEPS is quantitative evaluation of the fertility of tropical soils, and it was first introduced by Jansen et al. In 1990. And then by the time, in 1992 to 2000, the concept adapted to rice, and the initial piloting in, I think, around 5 countries in Asia. So the principles of SSNM include the following 3 steps. One is to you establish a yield target that represents the crop's total needs for nutrients, and then we identify or determine what or how much is the existing nutrients in the soil that's coming from the irrigation water, crop residue, soil, and manure that's already in the soil. So we are estimating the indigenous nutrient supply. And then when we get the difference of the crop needs and the existing nutrient supply, then the gap is filled with fertilizer. And in 2000, 2007, that's the initial scaling phase. So SSNM was introduced to farmers through simple tools like the leaf color chart. And then there was this first version of a software called Nutrient Decision Support System for Rice, or NUDSS, developed by ERI. It was, I think, in Excel or Access version during that time. And then since 2008, the decision support tools leverage the use of ICT. So there was a development of Rice Crop Manager and Rice Advice during that time until up to this time. So there was this meta-analysis of 62 papers about SSNM in comparison with farmer practice. So this is meta-analysis for different cereal crops like maize, wheat, and rice. And you can see here that SSNM provided increase in grain yield, profitability, and nitrogen use efficiency for all of these crops, and also reduction of nitrogen. So the increased nitrogen use efficiency is due to higher yield and lower N rate in SSNM compared with the farmer's practice. So this is really well documented benefit coming from the use of SSNM in three major crops. So I will turn it over to Benny to discuss the status of the rice crop manager and rice.
Okay, so again, good evening, everyone. And talking beyond or going beyond the research work, the SSNM principles power different tools available across multiple countries. So as you can see here, we have examples for, or we highlighted examples for Philippines, India, Indonesia, and also we included this in this the rice advice, which is available in Africa through Africa Rice, and it's available in 4 countries. And as you can see, for Rice Crop Manager, there's since 2013 up to this time, there's more than around more than 4 million recommendations generated already. Most of them, 3.5 millions, are in the Philippines, and in India, specifically in the state of Odisha, more than 300,000, and in Indonesia, more than 120,000 recommendation. And if you can see the yield gain, it's consistent with the results that were presented earlier by Weng in the previous slide, which is also in what was done in research. So what we can see is an increase in both yield and income of farmers when they use site-specific nutrient management through these tools. And then we also look at other or all the available tools. And what you can see here, there are some, like for example, in Bangladesh, in other states in India, like Eastern Uttar Pradesh and in Bihar. Some of these are available, but quite currently put on hold. This is due to the inavailability or lack of funding for deployment. But for other countries, we'd like to also highlight what has been done. Like for example, Rice Crop Manager Advisory Service in the Philippines, which has more than 3.5 million recommendations. Since 2021, it's now already with the owned by the Philippine government. It has been transitioned successfully. It has been institutionalized, and they continue to fund its annual deployment. And it's available as a web-based version, both in online and offline version. So farmers who are in remote areas, those intermediaries who are using, or RCM users can still bring that the tool to them. And we also included additional features such as farmer and field registration, as well as georeferencing for farm mapping, and sending of mid-season recommendations or mid-season reminders to farmers through SMS. In Indonesia, Layanan Konsultasi Padi, the local name for RCM Indonesia, it's also available in web-based, online, and offline. Later, I will show a quick demo. And what is additional here is the water management advice, meaning it's more including, aside from the nutrient management, the advice on when to dry the fields, or we call drying cycles, so that farmers can still do safe alternate wetting and drying. For Odisha, India, we developed a chatbot and also an API. API is an access point interface or application point interface wherein it can be interoperable with other systems. For this case in India, it was with Bayer Farm Rice application. So they interoperate with each other to bring more scientific or science-based advice to farmers. Another thing that's going on right now is for Vietnam. So there's a project that also included RCM Vietnam development, upgrading, and later on deployment. So it also includes deep fertilizer placement, seed rate, and water management. Also going to the another application is Rice Advice. It's an Android base. It's owned by Africa Rice, and what we know for now is it's an ongoing deployment in 4 countries. We also look at innovation readiness. So innovation readiness is the one part of the scaling approach, which is IPSR, or innovation packages and scaling readiness. And then innovation readiness basically means how verified or validated your innovations are in terms of their promise. If they promise to increase yield and income, are there evidences at what level, like what condition or environments do they provide that, whether they're validated in controlled, uncontrolled, or semi-controlled and uncontrolled environment. As you can see here, for both the Philippines and India, RCM India and RCM Philippines, both are already proven innovation, which were already validated to achieve their specific impact under uncontrolled conditions. So what you can see here, there's the evidences are the intensive or extensive monitoring, evaluation, and learning in the Philippines, and it showed that when farmers followed, when they received the recommendation, there's an increase in income and yields. Similarly, for India, there's a range of half to 1 ton, half ton to 1 ton increase in yield, and also fertilizer cost savings, especially for locations where farmers are over fertilizing their farms. For the case of LKP, this is still an ongoing project, and we are at the level of uncontrolled testing. This is widely deployed in 8 provinces in Indonesia, and this is now through the national and local government agencies. We did the monitoring activity this year, and we're currently analyzing these results to assess its performance. And for the RCM Vietnam, it's a prototype. It has already been validated in a semi-controlled condition, and this prototype has been validated in at least 2 major rice growing locations in the country, in Mekong Delta, or Mekong River Delta, and Red River Delta. Now, another aspect of scaling we look into is in terms of scaling in number, in use cases, and in types or version. So we highlight here the example of rice crop manager in the Philippines, which is, aside from the 3.5 million generated recommendations, we've recorded more than 24,000 active or registered users who act as intermediaries. So they are the ones who bring or use the technology and bring the recommendations to farmers. And then we also seen almost 300,000 hectares of fields mapped already using the protocols that we developed for verification of farm area. And this protocol, in terms of the scaling in use case, this protocol for field measurement, which we developed in Rice Crop Manager project, this has been adopted by the national government in the Philippines for their registry system for basic sector in agriculture. They are now utilizing this to validate whenever they register a farmer, they use it to validate that the farmer really has a field. And the measurement is more precise or more accurate, aside from, instead of just relying on what farmer declared as the field size. And then we also develop through this system a rapid assessment tool, which usually is the one we use for end of season survey. And this is, aside from monitoring or assessing the uptake of RCM recommendation, it also looks into how farmers utilize the government interventions of seeds and fertilizers. In terms of the scaling, in terms of types, RCM in the Philippines has evolved to include Climate Plus module, and this is an upgrade to a mid-season advisory also via SMS, and this now becomes a weather improve advisory. So it connects and interoperate with other platform to capture those weather forecasts and translate that into an advisory. So a farmer can be receiving information that contains advice whether to adjust application based on the forecasted weather. And it happened during the Climate Initiative, this Climate Plus, and now under the Climate Action is still an ongoing activity, now combining or integrating with the area-based yield insurance. And another bilateral project that is ongoing and also like an offshoot of Rice Crop Manager is an AI-based chatbot. We call it Palay. Palay more for the Filipino word for rice. And it will include information and data generated from Rice Crop Manager Advisory Service and the data that is containing even up to the field or municipal or barangay level information. And this is something that is demanded by the government, and we envision, similar with RCM Advisory Service, we envision that this will be transitioned to them for sustainable operations and maintenance of the application. And now, let me quickly show you how RCM operates. And for this purpose, I'll show you the LKP demonstration. So earlier, while we were waiting for the meeting to start, we had a quick chat with Nozomi, and we used her name as a farmer detail here because we are just going to use it as a sample farmer, a test farmer. So we already included information like where the farmer's field is located, the size, which is, let's say this is 1 hectare, and also we can map that area and upload here for a better measurement, whether it's 1 hectare or maybe higher or lower. No? And we put here an ecosystem of irrigated and let's say just planting twice a year. And we also captured the typical seasonal information. And for this case, we put here dry season yielding 5 tons per hectare fresh weight. So it's around 4.4 tons per hectare dry weight, and water status is adequate. So since it's already here, we can now start to generate the recommendation. Okay, so aside from those information, we'll be asking for information that is seasonal or that can change season to season. So the very first one about field information is access to or having control to irrigation. Let's say she has an access to control irrigation, and whether she is going to plant in the whole field. Because sometimes farmers just plant a portion of the field. No? Let's say this is yes. And then in terms of setting yield target, we ask additional information such as how the rice will be established. So for this case, let's say manual transplanting, and let's say this has been sown, this field has been sown, or a seed bed for this cropping season has been sown, let's say last week. And then after 21 days, she will be transplanting. So sometime 2 weeks from now. And then what variety to grow for this upcoming season? Let's say it's an inbred. And let's say it's Seherang, one of the most popular variety. So for this case, remember earlier, we have targeted for the typical yield is 5 tons per hectare. For this case, it's 6.8 tons as a fresh weight, or 5.9 tons per hectare as dry weight. And then now determining the fertilizer rates. So the question is, what is your immediate previous season for 1 hectare typical? Let's say last season, she harvested. Let's say it's a wet season, so the harvest is relatively lower. Let's say it's 4.5. And then the major crop grown last time is rice, and it was done using combine harvesting. And then let's say the farmer retained those residue in the field. And then for the dry season, for the upcoming, there's also a question whether the farmer will be applying organic commercial fertilizer, commercial organic fertilizer. Let's say yes. There's quite a lot. Or let's just put no, just for the interest of time. And then even for animal manure, no, because we'll have to input more information. So this is now the requirement for that field, for that target yield as well. So next, now there's a question, what type of fertilizer will the farmer use in terms of the compound fertilizer? Let's say it's the one coming from the government, the subsidized one, 15, 10, 12, and then combined with urea. So there's now an estimate of when to apply the fertilizer, how much to apply per fertilizer type. And again, as I mentioned, the drying cycles is also incorporated here for the water management. So as you can see in the diagram, there's a blue bar here indicating when to dry. There's also an explanation in the table above. Okay, so let's say it's already done, it's already reviewed, it's fine, and we now submit and generate the recommendation or download the recommendation. So once it's downloaded at the back end, so you can see here it's downloaded and there's already this recommendation, a one-page printout that can be used by the user to explain to farmers how to follow. So farmers can now bring this to his or her field and start planning. No? And now going back to our slide, so let me call on again Weng to continue the presentation.
Okay. So Rice Crop Manager, as demonstrated by Benny, it provides recommendation to farmers before the season. Now, what will happen during the season? And well, we developed some time ago, 10 years ago actually, this plant health care. So it's a complementary application to Rice Crop Manager. So this RCM Healthcare aimed to diagnose key plant health problems during the season and provide solutions that farmers can readily use and benefit from. So it's like a continuous partnership or continuous communication of the intermediaries with the farmer with RCM recommendation throughout the season. So we have developed initial decision logic. It can be refined and revisited with new information. So I will just show you how it works and what are the contents of this. So initially, we listed all the key pests, the constraint based on crop growth. So we divided or we grouped the different pests based on crop growth. So you will have we have divided the crop growth into 4 categories. So the early stage, pillaring to booting, booting to heading, and heading to maturity. So you can see there are pests that are similar to some of the stages. So first of all, we group them. We see the what do you call that? Importance of these pests during the crop growth of rice, and then we develop a sort of decision logic. So this is an example of decision logic. During 22 days after crop establishment, 2 days after PI. So as you can see here, we are using pictures so that farmers can identify the situation in their location or in their field. So for example, the situation was there was a yellowing of leaves. So there's another question or a follow-up question. What is the pattern of yellowing? So in this example, it's yellowing of individual plants. And then the next question is, what about the color? So if it is yellowing with the drying of leaves or orange yellowish leaves. So if it is orange yellowish, then the diagnosis is tungro virus. And then if it is yellowing with drying of leaves, then there will be succeeding question to determine, aside from tungro, what would be the constraint or the problem. And then here's some of the recommendations for the tungro virus, if it is the one that's defined through the decision logic. And we have recommendations for the current crop and for the next crop. So for the current crop, and if the condition is in mid-season yellowing of leaves or plants, individual plants or patches with orange yellow leaves, then the recommendation is that do not spray insecticide, do not rogue the oranges yellow plants, monitor fields nearby for the spread of yellowing and avoid too much disturbance. If in case the yellowing is uniform and in whole field, Then the recommendation is do not spray and the crop is infected with tung growth and correction is late at this stage. So with that, we will also have a recommendation. It's going to be automatic that at harvest, we will send recommendation like plow under the crop residue after harvest or change the variety for the next cropping season. And then there's a recommendation as well to use RCM for the next crop. And then for the next rice crop, the recommendation would be establishment of seed bed that's not surrounded by old and infected plants, and then monitor for green leaf hopper. So you see that there is what do you call it, sustainability or continuity of the recommendation from RCM, then current crop, and then for the next crop. So that's where we see that potential collaboration on plant health can be established through the use of decision tools. So with that, thank you very much for listening, and we are open to answer some of your questions.